The sect has given an order. All disciples must return to the immortal realm immediately. If you could ever find a real-life fairyland, Zhangjiajie would definitely be one of the most fitting places. It has the Heaven's Gate, which seems to swallow and breathe out clouds and mist, and over 3,000 strange peaks standing tall like an army of celestial soldiers. When they are touched by a wisp of mist, it's like 1,000 mountains painted without ink. Nestled in a sea of clouds, it's as if you suddenly hear of an immortal mountain on the sea, a mountain that exists in a mystical, ethereal realm. Adorned with ice and snow, it's as if 3,000 peaks have all grown white-haired, showering the world with jade-like blossoms. China has many famous mountains, but only the 3,000 peaks of Zhangjiajie, in book type and scale, are globally unique, earning them the name Zhangjiajie landform. What's even less known is that the birth of such a spectacle was due not only to a series of fortunate coincidences, but also because of a series of immense challenges. Welcome to the Planet Research Institute's Starry Mountains and Sea series. Join us as we rediscover the extraordinary mountains and waters of this land. This time, we're in Zhangjiajie, Hunan, crossing over into a true martial fantasy world. Before my eyes right now is a spectacular forest of peaks. Whenever the sun rises, you could say 1,000 peaks are draped in gold, like an army of celestial soldiers guarding this immortal realm. But just looking at it like this, you can't really tell how tall and majestic they are. Why don't we single one out? Let's go with this one. This stone pillar, about 150 meters tall, is the prototype for Hallelujah Mountain in the movie Avatar and in all of Zhangjiajie. The tallest pillars can even reach over 400 meters, but their height isn't even the most special thing about them. They are slender from top to bottom, rising almost vertically, with an incredibly exaggerated length-to-width ratio. With proportions like these, how have they managed to stand tall against thousands upon thousands of years of wind and rain? How is that possible? Let's take a closer look. You see, these rocks are actually formed by quartz particles cemented together, which is why they're called quartz sandstone. And quartz is actually a very hard mineral, commonly used to make glass or computer chips. More importantly, have you noticed these layers of texture? They are almost perfectly parallel to the horizontal plane, just like this stack of horizontally placed building blocks, which allows them to maintain a stable center of gravity. In the natural world, this is a very rare but also very perfect coincidence. If they were to tilt, look, they would easily collapse. Globally, such quartz sandstone peak forests are already rare. Besides Zhangjiajie, they can only be found in a few other places, like the Dia Mountains in Jiangsu, Guangxi. But the 3,000 peaks of Zhangjiajie, so towering in form and so immense in scale, are truly one of a kind, second to none, and utterly unrivaled. So, who was the grand strategist behind the scenes? Who so neatly arrayed these countless giant rock pillars? To answer this question, we need to return to the former life of these 3,000 celestial soldiers. Up ahead is the famous Tianmen Mountain. It's only about 50 kilometers away from the forest of peaks, but the mountain's rock is composed not of quartz sand, but primarily of carbonate material. This type of rock reacts easily with water that has dissolved carbon dioxide, and when combined with the force of gravity causing the mountain to collapse, it ultimately, at an altitude of 1,500 meters on the mountainside, hollowed out a cave, shaped like a celestial gate. And as we broaden our view, we see a vast ocean of karst landscape, completely surrounding the 3,000 peaks, together weathering millennia of rain. Do you see these neatly arranged walls? Don't they look like a series of city walls? However, these are not some ancient man-made structures. They are one of the former lives of Zhangjiajie's 3,000 peaks, also known as wind walls, because Zhangjiajie is located in the western part of Hunan Province. Powerful monsoons carry abundant moisture, especially in the summer, creating intense rainfall among the mountains. The annual precipitation can reach 1,400 millimeters, earning it the name of one of the 3 major rainstorm centers in Hunan Province. And this rainwater, like a knife, constantly washes over and erodes these wide walls, eventually carving them into individual rock pillars. In my hand, I have a piece of quartz sandstone. Compared to limestone, this quartz sandstone is actually much less soluble in water, and its texture is extremely hard, so by the power of water alone, it would be very difficult to form the pillars we see today. So, in a former life, even before the wind walls, what did this place experience? This mountaintop is so flat, you can even grow vegetables on it. I wonder if you've noticed that the tops of these distant pillars are all at roughly the same elevation. This plain is, in fact, a massive ancient plateau, and it's the ultimate former life of all the peaks. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Zhangjiajie was a vast ocean. When it was a coastal region, quartz sand carried by rivers was deposited here, forming a layer of quartz sandstone over 500 meters thick. After eons of great change, the ocean receded and the surface was uplifted to become land. A great plateau made of quartz sandstone was born. However, millennia of geological activity, like the work of gods, caused countless fissures to form deep within the plateau, allowing forces like water to penetrate deep along the cracks, breaking down the rock. Eventually, the mountains crumbled and the earth split, and the once massive, hard rock plateau gradually fell apart. However, some of these rock formations still survived in many ideals. They have survived through a series of fortunate coincidences. They are very lucky, not only because they happen to have nearly horizontal and stable rock layers, which prevents them from collapsing due to tilting. At the same time, their tops also happen to be covered by a solid iron cap, making the tops of these pillar forests even harder, so they aren't eroded by running water, which in turn protects the rock layers below. And those red rock layers are evidence of the presence of hematite. However, all this good fortune must eventually come to an end. This grand formation of heavenly soldiers, these mystical mountain gates, will also one day see the curtain fall. Have you noticed the uniquely shaped vegetation growing between these rock pillars? They struggle to sink their roots into the thin soil within the rock crevices, but in doing so, they also imperceptibly widen these cracks, until one day the rock is split apart and collapses. Scientists vividly call this process root wedging. Root wedging from plants, erosion from flowing water, and collapses under gravity have, on the one hand, shaped the 3,000 wondrous peaks we see today. On the other hand, it's like a final, destructive battle hymn, foretelling the end of this army of 3,000 heavenly soldiers. This rock pillar is only about 40-something meters tall and is known as an isolated peak or a remnant hill. But in the past, it was very likely a towering giant over 300 meters tall. This is the next life of Zhangjiajie, the final years for all the pillar forests. Those flat-top platform mountains will eventually become thinner and thinner fin-like walls, and those walls will become ever slenderer rock pillars. And these pillars, in turn, will get smaller and smaller, and shorter, until the song finally ends, and they return to just once more. Looking back at Zhangjiajie's past lives, we can see that over hundreds of millions of years, what was once an ocean disappeared here, and towering, vast mountain ranges disappeared here, and even incredibly hard rock has vanished here. However, despite weathering countless trials, it was through numerous strokes of luck that the 3,000 wondrous peaks we see before us, this otherworldly paradise with its air of immortal grace, was created. As the old saying goes, the heavens are high, the earth is vast, and one feels the infinity of the universe. Perhaps for Zhangjiajie, every disappearance gives way to something new and unique, and every trial forges another kind of masterpiece of nature. And we are just lucky enough to encounter it in its present form, to happen to witness This one legendary moment in time. And that's all for this episode of the new classic of mountains and seas. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and follow us. If there are any incredible mountains or waters you'd like to see, let us know in the comments. We'll see you in the next episode. Go and witness it with your own eyes and pay your respects.